Yo, real quick, I saw one of the fans ask about Chris Eubank and Conor Benn.
That kind of brings us to our next point, right? Father or sons boxing after their fathers, right?
There you go. And that happens this weekend. And I mean, this fight could have happened last week or the week before, the week before, the week before. The buildup for this thing has really, really been what this was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard for us to grasp overseas just how famous their fathers were. When their fathers fought, they went on the BBC, they went on the news, watched by tens of millions and signed their contracts on air to fight each other. And just so much of their buildup was a national sensation in the 1990s.
I saw a video of Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton weighing in on a late night show. I think it might have been Johnny Carson. I could be wrong.
Maybe Dick Cavett, something like that.
Something like that. I don't remember what, but the fact that it was like a pre-weigh in. It was for the fans. It was for the show. But the fact that was something that was being done for boxing, even here in America, so long ago, and I think that that's the biggest step. I think the biggest step that boxing can take in America is getting it back on late night television, late night shows, and things of that nature. But go ahead to your point with Ben and Eubank seniors.
Yeah, I mean, well, they really did fight a pair of great fights, and just so you know, they weren't just great European fighters. Gerald McClellan, in my opinion, one of the most underrated American fighters of the last 40 years, however long. And Nigel Benn, in one of the most brutal fights in boxing history, knocked him out in 1995, the fight of the year. And Nigel Benn wasn't even the best guy between him and Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank beat him. So they are the son of legit great fighters. And so when this fight was first signed, my initial impression was Eubank's going to blow him out. He's too big. He's too big. And it's two flawed but talented fighters. They inherited their daddy's genetics, and they both got talent you can't teach. But both didn't have extensive amateur careers. So I thought one bigger, talented but flawed fighter beats the smaller but talented but flawed fighter. But a lot of times when you're lazy with your picks, that's when you get them wrong. So I went to the lab, I broke down tape, and I noticed a few things. Conor Benn actually tends to have better balance than Chris Eubank Jr. He keeps his hands up. Neither guy is the most technically proficient guy. Neither one's Bernard Hopkins in there. But Conor Benn does bring these home a little bit more. And I think sometimes his combinations are a little more compact. But Chris Eubank, he's been finding his identity lately. We talked about this off air, but training with Roy Jones a lot. You see a lot of Roy. You see like a poor man's Roy Jones, and that's still a compliment because you could be poor man's Roy Jones, still be championship level. He relies on his athleticism too much. He doesn't really do a lot defensively. He kind of relies on his quick twitches to get him out of harm's way, but that chin doesn't really get tucked. He doesn't really high guard it. It's pretty much his athleticism gets him out of dodge. The problem is, part of why I'm going with the upset with Conor Benn is guys like Zira Mehta and Liam Smith and Liam Williams, they didn't have the athleticism and the speed to cut the gap when Eubank pulls out with his chin exposed. Conor Benn, even if it's ugly and stupid, even if it's him jumping in, which could get him knocked out. He could run into an uppercut from Eubank. But the fact that he's willing to jump in with that right hand, it gives him a chance to cut that distance. What do you think, Sean?
To that point right there, you said two flawed fighters.
Yeah.
Those are their biggest flaws right there. And Conor's flaw works to his advantage against the flaw of Chris Eubank. Chris has a tendency to get lazy in the ring. He has a tendency to pull straight back and think that his athleticism is just going to keep him safe. He trusts athleticism that's not there. He's athletic, but he's not as athletic as he thinks, or doesn't have the gift of doing what he tries to do, right? So, like, I'll explain it for anybody that doesn't understand what I'm saying. If you're a guy that likes to take one big step back, and that gets you out of the way. But you don't have fast twitch fibers to really make that move and get out of the way, but you like to do it. This is that time where doing something that you like to do, but you're actually not superbly, extremely gifted at doing it, it's going to catch up with you. On the other side of that, you got a Conor Benn that is willing to just kind of throw it out the window and go get it.
Go get it.
That's not always the best thing to do, you know?
No, he could run into an uppercut doing that and get stopped in this fight.
At 160, right? Or is this at 68? So at 160, we're talking about a Jamal Charlo, or we're talking about
he's little. He's not even big for welterweight. I once saw him and Teofimo Lopez at the gym when Teo was getting ready for Cambosis. They were the same size. Teo was actually a little bit bigger.
Yeah. I think that on fight night he's gonna be thick, he's gonna be strong. But I'm just saying, to that point, and I'll let you continue. But I just think that when you said two flawed fighters, I literally was looking at, well, Conor Benn likes to rush, and he will take those chances. And I'm like, but that works to his advantage against a guy who will lazily pull straight back, thinking that the other guy is too far away, or thinking that the other guy just ain't gonna come, you know? And to the point of the uppercut, better throw the uppercut early when your timing is there, because 5, 6, 7 rounds in, that uppercut may not have that kind of steam. Your eyes may not have that kind of reflex and timing that it would have earlier in the fight, you know? So you're right. Dangerous weapon for Chris Eubank with that uppercut against Conor Benn. But even I saw somebody in the chat say Conor Benn is one mean guy. He's going to win by knockout. That's actually what I think. I think that his meanness is going to take him through anything that he's going to get hit with. He's out to prove something to England. I think he's out to prove something to England before he's out to prove anything to his dad and to his family, which is kind of crazy. You would think that it starts at home first, but if not, it's a neck to neck race in terms of who he's really trying to prove that he's the best English fighter between the two sons. And I got a feeling he wants to prove it to England. And I think he knows, should he beat Chris Eubank Jr., that puts him on a different level in life out there in England. So, but go ahead, back to you.
No, 100%. I mean, he'd be achieving one place his father didn't, and I don't think he'll ever be Nigel Benn. I don't know if he'll ever be a world champion. He's a explosive welterweight, but the problem was what was starting to make him a contender at welterweight. It wasn't his feints, it wasn't his counter punching, it was nothing super technical. It was, man, this dude has some burst. You know, this dude has some explosiveness. And once you pop for the PED test, it's like, oh, is that why that was jumping off the screen? You know, and then he goes the distance in his 2 fights since it. So yeah, he's got a lot to clear his name in this fight. And meanwhile, Eubank Jr. is just going.
Real quick on him and that. Everybody knows that I went over and I shared the ring with him for a couple of rounds.
Yes,
we shared the car for a couple of hours as well, and we had lunch together, and we kicked back. We talked quite a bit. When you talk about him going the distance twice after the big PED scandal and all that kind of stuff, and who is he now, and you know, does he have power, does he not actually have power, all that kind of stuff, people don't really realize and understand. And you will after I say this, because I'm going to put the earnest on everybody who listens to this right here. Anybody who's going through something at home, really think about how productive you are at work. And if you're able to mask what you're going through at home and be productive at work, really imagine how productive you are internally while you're at work. Something's lost when you're going through something, whether that's at home or it could be even actually at work, but something's lost in life when you're going through something, right? Now, I know everybody's going to cut the joke. Well, he lost his power when he stopped going through the PED. I know everybody's going to cut those jokes, but I'm really, really inclined to believe that one of those big reasons why his performances didn't look as spectacular. And I think both those fights were here in the States, right?
Yeah, and I covered the last one and actually gave him a lot of tough questions, him and Eddie, about PEDs. And part of what I'm picking up, what you're laying down, is that he showed us something. He showed he's a professional. That requires a certain level of professionalism. To everyone's calling you a cheat and a steroid cheat, and you got punk ass Sean Zittel in your face asking you about it. But you stand and deliver. You go out there, you get the job done, and you march forward. That shows a level of professionalism within Conor Benn.
And the other thing I want to say, and this is kind of a little bit of a message to you guys too as well. Think about trauma, anxiety, hurt, nervousness, all those things. Any of those energies, think about them like if you got a big bottle of energy. That's dirt on that energy, right? So in order for that energy to be used, you got to dust all that off, right? Now, if you're trying to dust all that off before a fight or before life, for anybody who's listening, but you don't get it all dusted off, when you go into that fight or whatever, when you go into whatever you're into, and you still got that anxiety or that hurt or that trauma, it's just clogging things up, so you don't operate the way that you can. And I think with this fight right here, we're going to see a mean Conor Benn that's really had a true opportunity to dust off all of that dirty, nasty trauma and hurt and disgust and all those things that were said about him and everything that's been done over the years and all that kind of stuff. The kid's been in therapy. Nobody knows about his upbringing and nobody knows what he's gone through with his dad. To know the things that he's gone through with his dad, like that stuff, it kind of holds you back. You know what I mean? Think about it like tar. And I'm sorry I'm going on long with this, but think about it like tar. You're running, you're trying to run a lap, but you got tar on your feet. That tar is the trauma. It pulls you back, y'all. And y'all know what I'm talking about. For anybody listening right now, that stuff sticks to you. And it makes it hard for you to operate, So when he's come over here twice to cap that, he's come over here twice. He didn't look as good as he's looked, and then you don't see the kind of power and all that kind of stuff. Just think about it like that. He's had a lot of trauma. He's had a lot of hurt. He's had a lot of anxiety and things that he's dealt with. He had tar on his shoes. You know what I mean? That's what that is.
Well, let's give the fans what they want, Sean. You sparred Conor Benn a couple months ago. This is well after all this has passed. So you're feeling that power that's being scrutinized right now. Let me ask you, how was his punch of power? What do you think of him overall? Did your experience sparring with him have a lot to do with why you believe in his chances in this fight?
Believe it or not, the time we spent together after the sparring is kind of what I was already feeling like he would win this fight. I just feel like Chris Eubank Jr. just isn't who he was a handful of years ago. I think that he's been through a lot himself. I think that a lot of trainer changes and things of that nature. The business for him is a little messy, and again, there's tar on his feet as well. So I just think that I haven't spent time with Chris, and I don't know what Chris has done to handle things. To the point of your question, the kid, when we sparred, was very, very fit, and he was fit. I'm like, this dude is gonna peak early. I don't even think he's gonna peak on time, but I think he's so crazy to not even understand what peaking early means. So I got a feeling he was really, really fit when we sparred. He was strong. The other thing that really caught me by surprise was how shifty he was and how well he was able to move his feet. I'm not the best mover no more, certainly not when we sparred. And so I took that with a grain of salt. But the fact of the matter is, when I challenged him specifically, okay, I'm gonna go left to go right, and he was able to pick up on my rhythm and my movement, and I found that surprising. I didn't expect that from him. I just thought he was this hard-nosed English champion son. He's got a lot more to him. He's got some speed with his jab as well. I think that Conor Benn is going to win this fight. And I think that he's going to win it with his jab. He's going to win it with his feet, and the power that a lot of people don't think that he has. I think he's going to win it with that power as well.
If Jaron Ennis, when you sparred him, is a 10, what is Conor Benn in comparison?
Boots, Jerron Boots is a 10. Mr. Catch a Body is a 10. Conor Benn, 7.5.
Okay.
8. 8.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me because I know me, like a better me. I would really be able to answer that question. I'm like gauging this between the Shawn that was in the ring and the Shawn that could or should be in the ring. The Shawn that could or should be in the ring, maybe a 7.5. But based on what I saw, probably 8.
That's pretty generous. I mean, 80% of Boots is pretty solid. I mean, he's the best welterweight in the world. So
I would say Conor Benn's a B- fighter. It's B- fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I'm going to push back on one thing about Eubank. I actually think he's in a lot of ways fighting the best. Although he is a bit of a sucker for the right hand. That's something I've been picking up on. Even against Zirometa, his last fight that he dominated by knockout, he dropped Zirometa in the first round. By the end of the round, he's getting hit clean with right hands by the end of multiple times. And that happens to be Conor Benn's best punch is his right hand. And but at the same time, I can see Eubank dominating. I'm picking Ben, but I can see Eubank dominating and making us look stupid because he has a better jab than Conor Benn. I know you just talked about Conor's jab, but Chris Eubank's up jab has been on point the last couple of fights, and he's been more creative in with his punch selection. You don't because his uppercut's his best punch, but he used to try to force it from a distance he can't really get it out at consistently and be effective with. That up jab is creating opportunities. He's creating off that up jab. The only problem is on the defensive end. That's what's given me some pause for concern with him. But I could see him dominating this fight, making us look like fools. It's just I kept watching the tape, and I liked Conor Benn's hand placement better on defense. And everyone's talking about the weight. There's a chance that Eubank, who a couple years ago was a super middleweight, he might be a little drained at this weight and like look at Gervonta against Roach. Roach on paper is not the puncher Ryan or Rolly is or Mario Barrios is. But you know what he had that those guys didn't? He was hydrated and healthy and felt strong that night at the weight. And so he was able to take the power of Gervonta better and affect him with his punches better. That might be the case for Conor Benn in this fight. Like he's damn sure is a blown up welterweight, but he's comfortable. And Chris Eubank at 35 is a little uncomfortable making that weight cut. That could show up in this fight. So, yeah, man, we'll see.